Hey there, welcome to Be With the Word. I'm so excited this week. This is our first episode that we are doing for the second season of Be With the Word. And so this is episode 54. And if you haven't already listened to Hear the Word, I hope you'll go over to our sister podcast. I'll be reading that to you, and we're going to be doing it in a more meditative form, and there will be an additional meditation. So I hope you either read it in your Magnificat or read it on the web or listen on Here with the Word and then come over because we're going to be discussing it today. I am Dr. Gerry Crete. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are going to be exploring the readings from a psychological perspective, but also giving you practical advice and tips and suggestions and takeaways for being able to, take what you hear today and bring it into your family, bring it into your marriage, parenting, bring it into your lives. That's the goal. And I am here with Thomas Clements. He's a good buddy of mine, and he's joined me right here in the man cave,
Yes,
in the geek cave.
I finally made it.
And so we're not zooming in. We're actually
we're
live
here
together.
Mm-hmm.
So Thomas, tell me a little bit about you.
I'm Thomas. Let's see, I've been in Georgia most of my life. I've got 4 amazingly awesome kids, beautiful wife. We've been married almost 10 years. And just recently, I have started a new ministry for Gen Z and millennials who have been just ambushed and just brought down by our culture and its false teachings and lies. And we're hoping to help them kind of get out of that misery, help them discover more of God, or even if, they think everything's fine, but they want more of God. We're for people like that too. So we're trying to build community, trying to deliver the good news and help people overcome obstacles and just come together and love and have joy.
Sounds great. Sounds fantastic. All right, our topic today is going to be learning to wait, the first step in overcoming addiction. So we are going to be having a great discussion on that.
Yes.
All right, so we have been doing these readings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been looking at the readings in Isaiah.
Yes.
And the first one I thought was really fascinating because it brings in the topic of fatherhood also. And this idea at the beginning where it says, "You, Lord, are our Father, our Redeemer. You are named forever." And it says, "Harden not your hearts so that we fear you not." And then it gets into this whole tirade where, I am bad, I am lost, I'm a polluted rag, I'm withered, and all this kind of thing, and kind of blaming God for not being present. So I was just curious, Thomas, if you had thoughts on that.
Oh, I just thought that's so typical of an addict, someone who would blame someone else for their issues. And then, it does seem like, going back to fatherhood, just a discussion between, like a teenage son and his dad, like, you did this to me. And then maybe the humility sets in and he thinks, okay, but, then again, I didn't do this. And
right. Okay. Sounds like you've had some experience with this. maybe we need to back up just a little bit and tell us a little bit about your life, and why maybe I chose you especially, because I think you have just an amazing journey.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and thanks for letting me come on here and be with you guys. This is cool. Well, I have been a teenage son before, so I know that very, very intimately. Not being cool with my parents, but then with addiction, let's see, like age 15 to 21, I was just doing really bad with drinking and doing drugs and living the hedonistic lifestyle that was really kind of poured down my throat by our culture. Just, these false promises that you can only be happy, if you feel good all the time. You can only be free if you're doing what you want, when you want. And so that was the life I, pursue. That was what I was seeking, to be happy and to have peace. And so I was drinking every day. I was, smoking pot. I was getting into cocaine and
Yeah, so what I'm really interested in understanding is those first steps. Like if someone is listening and they're struggling, right? If you're listening and you're struggling with something in your life that is an addictive behavior, maybe it's drinking too much, maybe it's video games, maybe it's pornography, maybe it's whatever it is. It might be for some workaholism or something, and you recognizing this is a problem that is a little more than just, hey, I'm doing this too much. It's actually taking over your life a little bit. And you're at that stage, you're realizing, I might have an addiction. Yeah. I'm really curious about what the first step would be, or your thoughts on what the first step would be to kind of addressing that.
I think it's exactly what we find, being shared with us in the first reading today. What we can pull from that is this desire for everything immediate, this immediate gratification that is so strong in the world today. We want to get over that and learn how to wait, and I noticed that in the first reading. It talked about no eye has seen, no ear has heard, what God has planned for those who wait for Him, and people want that now, and so they think they can get it through drugs, through alcohol, through looking at pornography. They can get that, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard. They can get that right now instead of going to God the Father and waiting for Him in His process to get the peace, joy, and goodness that He brings.
So I'm really curious then, because in the reading from Isaiah, there's this sense in which they're looking to the Father and saying, Father, we need you. You're our Redeemer. Yeah. And we're waiting for this day of the Lord. This is going to land on us and everything's going to change. And yet my life is a mess. And so my answer to that, is I can't wait for God. How long is He going to take? Yeah. And if I just wait, how do I even handle that?
Yeah. And so when, while we're waiting, we have to have patience. And then exactly kind of what he's showing in the reading as well. It kind of reminded me of the prodigal son a bit, the language that he was using. But we have to have humility as well. And even the 12-step programs will tell you, that you got to believe that there's a power greater than yourself, and that that you're dealing with something bigger than yourself.
This is really getting me thinking too, because in the 12-step program, for example, in those first 3 steps, it's all about surrendering. Yeah. Right. And so we're expected to surrender to God. Yeah. But no one wants to surrender to God, and yet we're also expected to act. Right? Like, it's not like you don't do anything. You actually have to stop doing something. Most cases, it's stop an action. Yeah. So,
which is so hard, by the way, when you're an addict. Like, I remember thinking, okay, all I have to do is stop drinking. And it was the hardest thing in the world to just not pick up a beer and drink it. It was so weird.
So what worked for you?
Well, it was, this is going to sound super cheesy, right? But I went to rehab for a year, right? I was in a detox for 2 weeks. I tried quitting smoking cigarettes by dipping, and then ended up just smoking and dipping at the same time. Okay. So I tried a lot of different things to quit, and I even tried cold turkey on my own, but it didn't work. Because from 19 to 21, I tried all these things. I'm trying to quit. But it was finally when I humbled myself before the Lord, and sought Him, that He swooped down and saved me.
So if somebody came to you, because when I'm thinking about someone at that age, they're not often going to hear that message. And humble yourself to the Lord. They're going to say, "F you," right? Like, I want what I want, right? Yeah. So how does let's say a parent is listening, or a boyfriend or girlfriend, or somebody, and someone they care about is just not doing that. I'm just really curious about that. It's a hard one.
Well, I have 7 steps that might be useful. I found them useful. What I did is I went through my own process of giving myself to the Lord, and I discovered these were the 7 steps that really came to play a big role.
All right. Well, let's hear the 7 steps.
Okay, so step 1 is to put others first. Obviously when you're in the state of addiction, you can't really trust yourself. You're going to somehow find your way to what you're addicted to. And so just let other people make decisions for you, as long as they're not, too crazy. And also, the act of loving someone by putting them first, goes a long way as well.
So if someone someone has addiction, so their whole, in psychological terms, would say there's almost this extreme narcissism.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And they're dissociated whenever they act out. And so what you're really saying is, I have to get out of myself.
Yes.
And think about others. And allow other people of goodwill to help me, because I can't help myself right now. Okay. Which is along the lines also with God, that surrendering to God is also saying to God, I can't help myself right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I need your help. I need other people who love me to help me.
Exactly.
That's a really hard one, isn't it?
It's
when you're in a state of...
But that's the thing, is when you're as tired of the addiction as I was, it's almost necessary. It's like the misery, pushes you, the pressure of the misery pushes you into that.
Okay.
And so it's in a way. And I actually released a podcast a couple weeks ago. The depression can be good for you in that way, because it can push you outside of yourself to actually seek God, to love others. Okay.
But at some point there, you have to realize things are so bad, the depression is so bad, or my situation, that I need to do something different.
No bueno, yeah.
Okay. What's your next one?
Well, the next one is to run to something else. And, essentially, I've kind of learned, looking back, that, when you leave an addiction behind, it's going to leave a gaping hole, right? It's not going to feel good, and eventually God will fill that. But at the same time, too, temporally, in the physical world, something needs to fill that time as well, because you're going to realize after a while that, hey, wow, I have a lot more time now that I'm not focusing on this addiction so much. And so, it could be cooking. You could, pick up the guitar, maybe learn, how to play another instrument, take karate classes, painting, some big project, some big thing that, kind of, once again, gets you outside of yourself, but then it takes up the time that the addiction once held.
I love that, right? Because some of what I've been talking about and related to addiction and various other podcasts is that it's a symptom, and often it's a clue into what we really need. So in other words, when I act out a certain way, it's because it tells you something about deep down what I really want. So in other words, if I have a relationship with the bottle, then I'm pointing the bottles over there, and I have a relationship to a bottle, then deep down I need a relationship with humans.
Oh, beautiful!
Right?
That's
awesome. If I have a relationship to, if I'm viewing pornography, I'm pointing to my computer. Don't view pornography. But if I am on doing that, then what I'm really needing is real relationships with human beings, that are deeper. Does that sort of fit?
And do all, I'm sorry that we're going to get off track of the list here, but do all addictions really, point to the fact that we need relationship?
Yeah, it's I would say relationship is the core. And I would say not just relationship, but attachment. So we need to feel attached securely with God, I believe, and also with the other people in our lives. So if we're married, it's our spouse. For a child, it's with our parents and friends at times and stuff. But we need each other, close friends and so on. And when we have that sense of attachment and connection, it's deep and powerful and intimate, then we feel safe.
And so then, do bad relationships cause addiction?
To say that it causes it is a tricky one, right? Because that takes me into codependency.
Okay.
Red flag. But
you've got a lot more stuff to think about with this.
Right. But it's a great question, because if you stay in a bad relationship, it may perpetuate the lack of connection that one actually does want.
Okay.
Right? So it can't say that it caused it, but usually you enter into a bad relationship because there is some kind of a deficit inside that you need to kind of look at.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What?
Okay, well, so
Let's
that's
go
a
back-
whole other
yeah,
topic, though.
let's-
That's a great
next
one.
podcast,
Yeah. So, but the
Number
next
3 is to repeat the opposite action as often as possible, kind of like going to the gym.
one.
You know, you're building muscle by doing an action over and over again. Well, this is repeating the opposite action so that you kind of work out the muscle, your will, the muscle of your will, so that you can choose over and over again to say no to that addiction.
Okay.
So, for example, with porn, every time you view a person who is attractive, you can think of them as a whole person, as a subject, and think maybe of like their dreams, the fact that they have a family. Think maybe they have certain goals that they want to live out, and that'll help you kind of begin to look at all people as subjects instead of just objectifying them like you do with pornography.
I love that because I think there's an opportunity for empathy, building empathy.
Oh yeah.
Learning to actually care for others. Learning honestly even to not objectify oneself.
Oh yes.
Right, as well as others, and breaking free of that. So I love it.
Okay, cool. Because also like we think of when you do the addiction over and over again, it kind of builds up that obviously a habit, and you want to break that habit by overcoming it with the opposite virtue or the opposite habit.
In psychological terms, that'll be conditioning, right?
There we go.
Condition ourselves. Pavlov's dog and everything.
Yeah.
You hear that bell and you salivate because steak's coming, right?
Yeah.
So we get conditioned over time, and
Very
so what
cool.
you're talking about is breaking that and basically new kind of conditioning to help a person think differently.
Awesome.
And then from a brain neurological point of view, you're actually rewiring, if you will. You're creating new pathways, new ways of thinking. Yeah, adapting
Beautiful.
a new way. Sounds good.
Great. Thank you. So next we have accountability, which is obvious that you can't depend on yourself. Kind of like number 1, you can't really trust yourself to go the right direction, and so it's good to have someone on your team who you could trust to kind of help you out, help you kind of keep you accountable, keep you on track, on the wagon, as they say.
I like that. I do think that's so important because we're responsible for ourselves, right, and our own behaviors ultimately, but sometimes we struggle. And to me, like in a 12-step situation, you would have someone that you can call. Just even to know that you can call someone, or that you're going to be meeting up with your group later that day or the next day. And so it does create a sense of
gotta do
if
it.
I make this decision, it will have a consequence.
Yeah, very cool.
And I'm going to have to explain it. And sometimes that's enough to make you go, I really don't want to go down that path again.
Exactly.
Cool.
Next we have on the spiritual side, fasting. Right, fasting is another way, kind of like doing the opposite action, is another way to kind of condition yourself, because you're choosing to control yourself. You're choosing to use discipline, and you're choosing to say no to good things. And so this can be fasting from food, or it can be any good thing you can say no to. Right. Is going to strengthen your will, and you're going to be able to overcome. You're going to say no to the bad things too, because you've practiced so many times saying no to the good things.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's interesting. I think that creates a stronger sense of will. Yeah. Right. So you have a stronger will, and you realize you really do have choice, because what addiction does is it robs you of your sense that you have any choice. This is inevitable. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And so here you're saying, you know what? I cannot do these behaviors that I could, they're good. I'm gonna, I guess to me, the fasting, there's a sense which you're offering that, right? In some way to God. You can offer it as an intention for someone else, so that it literally, your fasting is a kind of prayer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Nice, beautiful.
Okay.
And then number 6 is daily prayer life. Building that relationship with God is huge, because He, in a way, is like the ultimate accountability partner. But also you want to build up that relationship so that He gives you the strength, right, and gives you the guidance as well. That He is not this distant figure, who kind of exists in the sky, and we kind of can we shout to occasionally, and then he might hear us. But he is truly here with us to help us and to lead us and to give us life that will truly fill us. And so having that daily prayer life he'll give you that guidance, he'll give you that strength, and he can help you overcome the addiction, because he'll give you more than what that addiction will ever given you. And that's definitely my experience.
You know what hits me? There's a great icon that I like, and I was just showing you my icons.
Those
icon
are cool.
Addiction.
Yeah,
it's one I don't have. I'm going to put it up in my. It's an addiction that I don't plan to give up.
That's so funny.
I have a book addiction too that I need to probably address though, but it's Our Lady of and I think it's called the Endless Cup. I'm going to go look it up. And
love that name. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's the idea, and it shows this cup, and in it is Our Lady holding Christ, and a cup, like for an alcoholic, it's like it's endless. And there's never an end. There's never enough you can drink, right? Like there's always more and more, or drugs, or whatever it is. And instead, what does he offer us? Living water, right? He offers
endless
us,
cup,
of goodness.
That is so good, so good.
Yeah. So anyway, I was moved to that, and I think that kind of speaks to that, having the relationship with God, having the relationship with all the saints, right, who are there to support us.
Amen.
Is important, because again, it speaks to offering us something that the addiction is like. Nobody goes to an addiction for bad things. You go to an addiction to soothe something. So there's a pain, and then there's something soothes it.
Yeah.
So nobody's drinking, like when you get to a point where you're passing out and blacking out and never happy, and you're on the side of the street or whatever, that person seems unhappy. But that obviously, and everybody goes, oh, that person's clearly, has a problem. And they're unhappy, whether they admit it or not.
Yeah.
It's obvious. But that's not how it starts off.
No.
It always starts off as soothing something good.
Soothing something,
right? No, it isn't good, but it's soothing a pain, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're looking, wow, how do we turn that around so that we're really being soothed in a healthy way, like in a loving way? And that is with a relationship with God in prayer. That's with healthy relationships with other people, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have that pure good relationship with God that we're seeking. Like we talked about earlier, like addictions, we're really seeking, strong relationships, and you can't get a better relationship with anyone than you can get with God.
Yeah.
And then that kind of leads in a way to the seventh step, which is the sacramental life, which truly fills you with that relationship within you. And
so what when you say that, what do you, most of our audience, many are Catholic, but maybe some people don't know what that means.
Well, I guess so. For the Catholic, it's going to the Eucharist, going to confession. Well, let's back up here. So it's getting baptized, right? And then they say that the eternal life begins at baptism. That, like, in a way, heaven begins on earth in God's kingdom. It's just not. It's not brought to fruition. It's not perfect until heaven, until after we die. But we still can have an enjoyment of it now, and then we continue it by going to confession if we lose it, or even just to nourish it a little bit, and then to receive the sacraments, to get confirmed. If you haven't been confirmed, you can do that, and that's just a super abundance of the Holy Spirit. And then in marriage and the holy orders, but particularly the Holy Trinity of the sacraments,
right?
Baptism.
Now, I'd love to ask you a few questions here, because you have a degree in theology.
I do.
Right? Okay.
I do.
Yeah, and where from?
So I have an undergrad at Southern Catholic, and then master's from Franciscan.
All right, awesome. So here's some thoughts I have, and we were talking about sacraments.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of Catholics think about the sacraments one way, and it might be based on the way they were raised or something, and so they see it as just a routine thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's
and
so much
if I'm
more.
in mortal sin, that obviously I need to go to confession, or if I'm working on my venial sins, I need to go to confession, or I just go to Mass, receive. and here's my thought. You tell me theologically if I'm right here.
You're not.
Or if it makes
I'm
sense.
he's I don't know yet. I haven't heard of him yet, so we'll see.
Like, to me, the sacraments, especially like the Eucharist and confession, I'm going to think of as the most available ones for most people right away, would be that it's literally the hands, the actions of Christ, you know, reaching out and loving and acting on with that person. So if you are going to confession, to me, it's more than just I'm having my sins wiped away, which obviously it does, but it's more like I am coming to you in my surrender moment. Yeah. And I'm asking you, I'm asking Jesus through the priest, through the sacrament experience. I'm asking, and I'm not asking, Jesus is choosing to love me and to say you're absolved, and you're important. My relationship with you is more important than any of this crap you've done, and I just almost want to embrace you in that moment. Like, that's how I see the sacrament.
That's 100%. That's
okay.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, love that. That's amazing. Yeah, and then St. Thomas Aquinas, I'm paraphrasing, says something along the lines of, I think he gave the image of, like, Jesus, you know, has a stick that he uses to, like, come in contact with the world, and the sacraments are the stick. Or when he uses spittle in John 9 to heal the blind man. Right. He uses spittle to I think he makes mud to wipe it on his eyes, and then the man can see again. Right. That's what the sacraments are. They are that spittle. They are that mud that Jesus uses creation to come in contact with us. And you're right, it's amazing.
So entering into it in a meaningful way, not just a routine, this is what I'm supposed to do, or even just a pure shame space. Like, I think a lot of people go to confession, it's just like, I'm pure shame. I'm going to endure this, get my sins cleared off, and then hope to goodness that I'm better now. Yeah. And I feel like that's missing what we're talking about here, is really encountering Christ and allowing a relationship, allowing to experience a relationship.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, relationship.
All right, sweet. I would like to get on this topic of waiting, because, I mean, our topic is learning to wait. We were alluding to it and mentioning lots of things. It's the first step. And I think this is fascinating because we live in a culture, right, that is not about waiting. Yeah. And it's almost intolerable.
Because it sucks.
Right. Okay.
Waiting sucks, yeah. But at the same time, there's, like, especially with God, like, it's such a beautiful process. Like, when you go through that period of waiting, and then you the promise has been received, or you get to that moment that you've been waiting for, and then you look back and you see the beauty. So you don't get to see the beauty, really. Sometimes you get glimpses during it, but you get to see the beauty later. Okay. And you know, what's interesting to me is mindfulness, right? Because mindfulness is popular, and it's a form of secularized Buddhism that is being used to help people, and my point on that is that's fine, you know, as long as it's not true, you know, like active Buddhism. But honestly, our Catholic tradition has a whole approach to stillness. I was showing you my icons, and I had one of Saint Gregory of Palamas, who's an Eastern saint who teaches that hesychism, as they say, and it's about stillness. And I feel like in our world today, we don't know how to be still. Like, I remember a time when I was a kid, and there was no phones or nothing, right? And if you wanted to watch TV, like a show, you had to wait till it showed up. Sometimes it didn't show up in reruns until the summer. And then if you missed an episode, you had to wait till the summer. Yeah, that's so funny. So I mean, that's so gone, right? It's so gone. Even myself, like, I almost long for that. What about the TV guide channel, where you'd miss the channel you were trying to like see what was on that channel, and it would scroll down, and you'd miss it, and you have to sit there and wait for it to come all the way back around.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, my TV, the first TV I had, was like, you had to, like, we had a clicker at one point, which was new, and it was sound motivated. So you go click, 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 and it would change channels. Everybody thought it was amazing, right?
No way.
Because you'd have to get up and do it, but it would go click, click. So you'd be 2, 3, 4, and if you flip by 6, but you wanted to go to 5, you had to click all the way back around, right? It's like a rotary phone. You're like 7, you wait for it to go all the way back. It took a long time to make a phone call. So funny. Generations past were better at waiting.
Yeah, they were. I actually had a conversation with a friend many years ago, and we talked about, like, how much people because when they used to do the laundry, they had to go through all these processes, or cooking in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
They'd do all these processes that took a long time to make or to do, and the people that would gain a lot through those processes. They would learn different skills. It would bring a lot of fruit from that, and we've kind of lost those processes.
How do we get it back? We're not going to go back to basically kneading my own bread.
My wife makes her own flour.
Does she? Okay,
she does.
okay. Well, that's awesome. I'm not going to be there. So, and most people listening, I don't know, maybe some of you are, how do we cultivate a spirit? And this is not expect you to have the answer. We're here to kind of figure it out. But how do we cultivate a spirit of slowing down? Because I think what an addiction does is it takes us out really quickly. And so there's a part of us that just wants pain to go away now.
Yeah, that's it.
So what I'm suggesting is what nobody wants to do, which is to slow down and allow yourself to approach the pain. Because it is, or sit with the pain sometimes. Maybe it's grief or loss.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something, but sitting with it in order to tend to it, to take care of it, to be with it, rather than rushing away from it. And nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, I'm curious your thoughts on that, and or how you've.
I think the secret is because it comes down to the problem of suffering. Why does God allow suffering? And the answer to that is we look to Jesus, who gave meaning to suffering.
Okay, so but I like that, and I agree with you. I think that's hard for people, right? For some people anyway. I think if you come to that, then you know that. But in a bad moment, I really feel bad.
Oh,
right
for
now.
sure. And I don't mean to be cold-hearted about people's suffering.
No, I didn't think you were cold-hearted, but I'm just really
why'd you
curious.
Say that, then,
I'm just curious, if you just said, I'm also thinking on the other side of it, for myself, I might be able to try to do that. Maybe.
Yeah, but for someone else.
For someone, how do you say, go to Jesus and not sound I'm just putting a band-aid, or just trying to spiritualize
you can't. That's not what you say, You gotta be there for them, listen to them, and pray, pray with them if they are the type of praying person.
Yeah.
I think it's more of an accompaniment through it.
Yeah, you answered it then. What I was hoping, I didn't know if there was another answer. I was just thinking, but I really do think being by myself, let's say, beautiful. In pain is maybe I need to learn that. That's hard. But if someone is willing to accompany, to be with them, and to sit with them and help a person slow down and say, I'm here. We don't have to run away from what's wrong. Let's actually talk about it. Let's actually sit with it. I feel like that is powerful.
Yeah,
right?
And then in a way that's how, mercy, John Paul II, and I think it was Rich in Mercy was one of his encyclicals. He talked about how his mercy, he's merciful because he can bring good out of evil. And in the same way, we can be merciful him, like God, by bringing good out of evil. Out of their suffering, we can accompany them. And that can be the good, that our friendship is strengthened, and then they are consoled.
Yeah. Now, I want to just add in a little piece here from that sort of maybe a marriage and family therapist perspective when it comes to, say, if somebody was to come to you and say, hey, my spouse is doing this and I don't know what to do. And I've tried confronting them. I've tried to take them to mass, or I've tried to help them. And they're being, maybe they're being hurtful. Obviously, if they're being outright abusive, you need to get out of that situation for safety.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But here's the big topic, and this could be a topic for maybe another week. So this is a teaser, but is boundaries, because you might need to tell someone you love, I want to help you. I'm willing to sit with you and accompany you through this journey and of the pain and everything, but it's not this behavior is not okay. And right now I'm going to have to do something, set a boundary to protect me. And if other people are doing in that person's life are all doing that, whether it's a full-blown intervention, we're all going to come in, or they're just all saying, no, we're not going to, sorry, we love you, but we can't have this because it's hurting us or it's hurting the other people we care about, that everybody setting healthy boundaries around a person in addiction might be the thing that helps the person ultimately to go, if I want to have relationships with these people that I do care about, I'm going to have to look at me. I'm going to have to get help. Does that sound right? That's
solid. Yeah. Good call.
All right. Well, we're going to have to slowly wrap up here. I was hoping Thomas, would say a little bit about the ministry you're doing, because it sounds really cool and it's right in our backyard too.
Thanks. Yeah, we're hoping to, build community. We're also hoping to kind of help people overcome the lies that are, far spread throughout our culture, and just discover more of God.
So what's the name of it again?
It's Zenith Ministries. Like the zenith of the sun is at its high point, or the zenith of a movement is at its high point. So we're like the high point of humanity is through God, through discovering God.
And if someone wants to check out this ministry, where do they need to look?
Visit us at zenithministries.com. We're also at tweet Zenith on Twitter, at Zenith Ministries on Instagram, and welcome to Zenith Ministries on Facebook. So use all those tools to find us in those places.
Sounds good. Well, listen, we're so excited to be able to have this conversation with you, Thomas. Thank you for bringing some of your story and engaging in this discussion. I know this is a huge topic. I'll just mention that if you, in particular, if you're a married couple and you're struggling with the addiction of pornography, on Souls and Hearts, we do have a course called Be True, which is geared for couples, and it's a lengthy course, tons of meat in it, tons of marital assistance and help, as well as addiction work, is all in this course called Be True. It's on soulsandhearts.com. You can check out the course there. And also we have I've done a number of appearances over the last little while talking about addictions, and if you go to our guest appearances section on Souls and Hearts, you can listen to a whole bunch of them. Nice. So I love talking about addiction. I love talking about trauma. It's apparently what I do.
Nice.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our show today. I hope you will check out soulsandhearts.com. I hope you will check out Zenith Ministries. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll continue to support the work that we're doing. We're trying to bring solid Catholic thinking and spirituality and faith, and bring it together with good mental health education. And so thank you for being with us. And if you like what I've done today, please leave some comments as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Be With the Word. Take good care. Be still. Believe.